Hey, Jason.
Eric,
Hello. I'm gonna butcher this. I apologize. Yael?
Yael. Oh, you're
Yael.
muted. No.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Awesome. How are you?
Good.
Good. Remind me where you guys are. Jason, where you coming from?
Springfield, Virginia, or Washington, D.C.
Central Jersey, New Brunswick.
No way. Go Rutgers. My sister went to Rutgers.
Awesome. Give me
All right.
1 second. We'll let people trickle in here. 1 second. I'm curious. Have you guys played much with Claude Cowork?
Not co-work.
No, or OpenClaw or Manus or any of these
Not if it
agents?
costs money, unfortunately. I would love to, dig into some more of the features.
Okay.
I'm pretty much using Claude or
Okay.
ChatGPT for everything these days.
Got it.
Right, I use ChatGPT just because I had it. I know people say Claude is better, but it's already has all my inquiries, and they say it's like better to stay with the same platform. I just got account on Teal, and it seems like
Mm,
it's very good for organizing things. So Teal
okay.
HQ. So
Okay. Awesome.
What are
One
you
thing.
hoping to do with it, Eric?
I'm sorry.
What are you hoping to do with it?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So, my understanding, and I'm just kind of scratching the surface here. All this is so new and it's moving so fast. We started out a few years ago with these LLMs, and originally when they came out, they were quite. It was quite impressive, but it was still you found its limitations pretty quickly. Uh, hello, Shum.
Hi.
We're just talking a little bit about some of the LLMs and generative AI technology out there. So when they first came out a few years ago, it was impressive, but then you really quickly saw its limitations, right? And now, that chat interface is just everybody knows how to use that chat interface now. But now it seems over the past month or so, month, 2 months, now there's a next layer of how these LLMs are being used in an autonomous way. You have this orchestration layer where you have these agents that can actually do things in a largely autonomous fashion,
Hmm.
not just responding to one-off requests, in a chat style. Now they're able to take things a step further and actually do things. And they've been able to do things now for at least the past year, but now it's becoming more democratized, where people like you and me, lay folks, are able to access this in a fairly non-technical way, right? So there's a lot of standardization that's going on, and it's putting this power in the hands of common folks, right? And this has only happened in the past month or two. And so if you haven't started playing with it, I'd suggest, playing with it a little bit because I think it can reap some immediate rewards in terms of, well, one, just being familiar with what the technology is capable of, but two, like you could even apply it to some of your job search workflows, and you can schedule tasks. And these aren't just tasks that are like, the tasks are increasingly more sophisticated now, where it's applying, some legitimate intelligence to it. So it's amazing stuff. And I was just a little bit curious about, getting a read on to what extent it's sort of penetrated the mainstream, especially in the job search space.
Yeah, there's several channels in NSA's Slack application that are devoted to folks that are working on it, or they're working on like prototype things, and then they're asking people to come in and like I built this prototype job search thing.
Yeah.
I built a prototype like LinkedIn optimizer, and they ask a bunch of people to come in and test it and provide them feedback and stuff, and like they're just off in their little corner of the JSC, like building stuff, doing stuff. It's pretty wild. I read it because I wanna
Yeah.
kinda have, like, a surface level understanding. I personally don't wanna give, like, that much control over to how my story's being told, but I do use it for various things with job searching or LinkedIn optimization. But
Yeah.
it's pretty wild to watch those Slack channels and the things they're doing in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this idea of having to build something, it's not really, you don't really have to build anything anymore. It's more like just putting stuff together. So for example, with Claude Cowork, right? The difference between Claude Cowork and let's just say Claude, the chat interface, is that you can start giving it access to specific sets of context or just files, like files or folders on your computer, your laptop. And it can start to do all kinds of analysis, and not just analysis, but actually take action, right? So you
Mhm.
could give it, yeah, hypothetically, right? You give it a link to or access to a folder, and let's say you have a bunch of, let's say, profiles of your contacts. Maybe they're LinkedIn PDF profiles, right? And let's say you have 100 of them in there. You can have it go through that and figure out who are the folks that you should connect with, why, and then craft a relevant, whatever, 2 sentence outreach message to them, and then go send it, or not even send it, but just go and create the drafts in your Gmail, and then you
Yeah.
can manually. So it's stuff like that that, it becomes really powerful. And that's just a really simple example. But anyway, I'll
Sorry, Eric, I have a question. I see here that you have a note taker. Are
yes.
you like summarizing the meeting and you're gonna send summaries to people, or is it more like a
Yeah.
confidential space?
I know I don't send summary meeting summaries. If you want me to let your note taker in, I'm happy to do that.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm not comfortable with being like
Yeah.
recorded. So
I'm sorry.
I'm not comfortable with being recorded.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We record this every week, so if you're not comfortable, I don't know what to tell you. You'll have to jump off.
So wait, so what is the recording for? It's not sent out.
Recording, just put it on my YouTube channel.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But why is the note taker part of that's recording it? Oh, okay, that's recording it. Okay.
This note taker is on Google Meet,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it just transcribes
They're
everything.
starting to be default.
Yeah,
But
it's
Eric,
kind
you also said sometimes you send it off to your assistant. Like I had told you that the URL on your website didn't work, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to send that off to my person to update that."
yeah, yeah. But as far as
So you're
summarizing,
saying the whole meeting is recorded and is available on YouTube, Eric? That's what
yes,
you think?
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. It wasn't obvious.
Yeah, sorry about
Um,
that. I thought I was mentioning that in the email.
Yeah, I think I did.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
no,
yeah.
never mind. It's just my preference and sensitivities. But thank you so much, guys. It was
I
nice
will
meeting
say
you.
one thing
I
though. Feel free to jump on. You can jump on anonymously, and you can turn your camera off. I have
Mhm.
no problem with that. But if you're not comfortable with that either, that's fine too.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so it's my first time. I thanks. Is there like somebody recommended actually I'm in I guess everyone here is in the NSA, I guess it sounds like. And I've been struggling to find like a recruiter to do the last like some a listening session or a couple of so somebody suggested this. So I don't know what the format is, but basically I wanted to like get some run by my draft candidate market fit thing and
Yeah. Let me preface the conversation here. So I was part of the NSA. I guess I still am, not in a formal sense. I was moderating two job search councils about a year and a half ago. And they've all since moved on and found their next opportunities. But I'm still part of the community. And as a recruiter, I get people reaching out to me quite often. And there's no way I could just take all these calls, right?
of
So I
course.
just do this on a once a week basis to meet with folks and kind of give back to the community. Selfishly, I also do this to kind of keep in sort of my finger on the pulse of what's going on out there. So it's
Yeah.
sort of a win-win for everybody. Generally, I don't answer hyper specific questions around, hey, review my resume, review my candidate market fit, because it would be too personalized to you. We can touch on it if things are slow. I'm happy to do that. Some of the general advice or guidance I
Yeah,
can.
I filled out the form a while ago. Um, yeah, I mean, my particular or I'll let you carry on and then I'll say something.
Some of the just to put some guardrails around what we use this forum for. It's usually about half an hour every week, and I answer any questions you guys have. I try to sort of limit it where if it becomes too personalized to someone and others aren't benefiting from it,
Yeah,
that's kind of where I draw the line.
yeah,
I want to make
yeah,
sure that the conversation, tends to benefit the group
yeah,
whole.
yeah,
So if it's too
exactly.
personalized, I tend to shy away from that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I could say it in a way that's beneficial. My challenge, and I think it is for the few people in the NSA community who aren't in the corporate or like a particular realm, and that's why I'm struggling to find a recruiter because I'm not in that realm, and I'm not just in the nonprofit realm. I'm in like I'm looking for something very specific, and that's what my that's what I want. Like I want some guidance around, and it really could be generalized in the way like if you're, let's say for me or anyone else, it could be somebody in a corporate realm. If you're more than like your area of expertise or what your title that you're gonna like look for in terms of your fit, you can come up with that. Looking for a program lead, I'm looking for a director, I'm like whatever. If what's obviously has an importance, but if you're somebody who where the culture and like some aspects of that are really equally or maybe more important, is that something you would put in your candidate? Like, I'm looking for this title position in this like domain and an organization that like really has strong equity praxis and workplace democracy praxis, or is that just like too too, like, unicorn-like and, like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah, that's the whole candidate market fit exercise. It's a bit of an art, right? And like, there's benefit in going narrow. There's also drawbacks in going too narrow, right? And
yeah,
where you find that nice warm spot is something that you'll have to empirically test, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to empirically test that because there is benefit to obviously defining what you're looking for. Um, and also, with respect to the role and the skills and the problem space, but there's also benefit in sort of augmenting that to some degree with the kind of the culture that you're looking to work in, right? And so, I mean, how specific you go on that and how narrow, I can't answer that, right? That's something you
okay,
have to invest into.
I would
yeah,
say if I had any advice for you, it would be treat it as also like a part elevator pitch. So if the folks in your JSC don't understand what you're saying, the folks that you're meeting out in the networking world are going to have trouble remembering the details, right? And you want it to be just specific enough that they understand what you're doing and what you're looking for so that everyone you meet can go out and network for you subconsciously, but not so specific that it just kind of becomes like alphabet soup or difficult, or people are like, "Oh, well, that's, a very narrow thing. I'm not gonna send her this potential job that might apply to her because she specified it has to be, like, on the right-hand lane, on the right-hand side." It's a bad analogy, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have.
yeah, I get
But,
it, like, I don't know.
but you can also try it out. Like, I tried mine out in various different channels on the Slack just to see if people got it,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
Jason, I really like that. It's a good example of, how do you marshal your network um,
Yeah.
to support you, right? And as you start networking out there, especially, I mean, people want to help. Generally speaking, they want to help, right? But a lot of times, people are not well equipped. Like, how do I help Shum? I don't know how to help her, right? But if you're very clear about who you are, what you stand for, what you're looking for, and it's memorable, it's easy to remember, then they can really be your eyes and ears, right? But
yeah,
like you said, if it's alphabet soup and it's too technical, jargony, they're just like, "Okay, well, Shuma's looking for a next position. Okay, but I don't know what to do with that." And then you might, if they're really excited to help you, they might send you stuff that just has no relevance at all, right? So, yeah.
Eric, I have a question.
It
Sorry, Justin.
I see Justin has a
Go
question.
ahead. I've got my question lined up. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay. So I'm entertaining a 3-month contract with someone, but I'm almost positive that should they extend me to full, it's one of those like 3-month to permanent,
Yeah.
that I'm almost positive that I really wouldn't want to be a permanent employee. And one of the only reasons I'm sort of like considering taking the 3-month is I've heard like it's a good opportunity to meet some people, to network, obviously to get some 3 months of money, of cash. But I have to imagine that if I go to the point where they're like, "Hey, we love you. Let's make this permanent." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. This was real fun. Thank you." That I'm burning like all of the goodwill that I spent 3 months building. Am I right on that?
This 3 months, is
good
like a
question.
4 hour, or is it 20 hour?
It's 35 hours.
3 5 hours? Okay. And you're concerned that if at the end you're concerned that going in now, like, you're like, "Okay, I can't see myself there in the long term, but come the end of the 3 months, if they wanna bring me on board, like, I already know going in that it's not for me in the medium to longer term."
Yeah.
Your concern is, like, sort of rejecting them at that point.
Like, I already feel like I have my answer, but I wanted to sort of get this, like, get checked with someone else.
I mean, a lot can happen in 3 months,
That's true.
right? Like, you can get in
I
there and you can figure out like, "Oh, this is some interesting problem space," or it could be something really appealing about the company. So I guess part of the question is like, where do you see the misfit with the opportunity at this point? And do you feel like that's something that's, like, it's an absolute no and nothing's going to change, once you get in there?
Yeah.
Even if that's the case, I mean, you're going in there. There's a reason why it's a contract, right? It's sort of, they're trying before they buy. You're trying before you buy. So like, it's almost like you're dating, right? And nobody's asking to get married on the first date, right? I mean, it feels like, there's a benefit for you. There's a benefit for them in the short
Yeah.
term. I don't know that you have any obligation to stay with them in the longer term. And that's a problem for 3 months from now, not right now.
yeah,
I like it.
I would say the same, like, that's generally what he said is the case anyway for that kind of setup, like, they're not making it permanent right now. They're, like, testing it out, and on top of it, and this is some of the advice I've seen in the NSA thing around not this particular issue, but kind of related is like, oh, well, this job is not exactly the whatever I want, but it's whatever. And then there's this other one that haven't like to take it because this market is like a disaster catastrophe, like on so
Absolutely.
many levels. And I think anyone who has an ounce of humanity wouldn't hold like that people like need to get like they need to survive. And it's not like we want to do that. Like I'm on unemployment right now and I try to apply for jobs that I'm actually interested in to do the claims weekly, but sometimes I just apply to whatever,
Oh
and
yeah, I've done
I
that.
hate doing that, and I try to minimize it, but, it's not my fault that that's, like, how the unemployment system is set up, like, to keep, like, churning out like, you do the best so I think that, yeah, like, I would suggest going for it if it's
Okay.
Also, question, Jason, the
Yep.
risk, I mean, what you said earlier sounded pretty strong. Like, if they did make you an offer and you decided not to continue with them, that any goodwill that you've built over the past 3 months would just be gone. That's a pretty strong statement, and there's ways to sort of off ramp or to decline without destroying 100% of the goodwill, right? Like, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you're thinking that maybe you're projecting that they're going to have an expectation that you continue with them after 3 months, no questions asked. I don't know if that's a real expectation for them to have.
I
But
I think I have that expectation because they've made it pretty obvious that they want this to be a long
mm,
term position. They want the right person to come in and grow with
sure,
them.
yeah.
So I think that's why it's a little bit more at the forefront of my mind, whereas it would just be like, "Hey, I'm just a gun for hire. It's no, we're just dating. It's no big deal."
Yeah. Do you know what it is about the company that is obvious to you that it's clearly not a fit for the longer term?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty far away from my CMF as well as my personal desires. Like,
Mm,
I I don't want to be coming up on my 50s and still schlepping gear all over the country. I realize that's incredibly privileged of me to say, but it's just not. I just know it's not going to work for me. So
got it. Okay. Yeah.
But you never know what's gonna happen. We don't
Yeah.
even know, like, what happened in the globally that's affecting everything. Nobody, like I mean, some of us sort of knew it would happen sometime, just the way things are, but nobody really knew like that. So it could be like that they're more flex something else happens and you're like, they make something they work with that and like,
Yeah.
you could be like, "I really love da 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 da, but I'm also, I'm realizing da 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 da, and if it was this, like, totally I would be you don't know.
okay.
And
No, this is good.
a lot of things can happen in 3 months, right?
Yeah,
You could have a change of heart. They could have a change of heart. A lot of things can
make him have a change of heart.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Justin.
Yeah, I had to really think about what my question was. So, along with the listening tour for Never Search Alone, where you need to find at least three people to talk to, there's the questions, the recruiter, and you have somebody you've worked with. And this is lining up with a recruiter who reached out to me from a company. I got a contact and sent her my resume and everything. It's kind of rare, honestly, to get a hold of a recruiter at all these days. Since about 2020, it's been pretty. It's just like it's very difficult to find a recruiter to talk to. You can't just call up an agency like you used to be able to just do that. Take a resume, just go meet somebody. It was so easy to find jobs before. As I did a work as a developer, designer, and been trying to move into project management. And the trouble is that this is lining up with the Never Search Alone stuff and this recruiter waiting for me to send references in order to even start looking for work. She needs references. And I've been, for the last 3 years or so, been working a day job. So I haven't really kept in contact with anybody doing that kind of work, whether that's development, design, or managing any kind of projects or anything. No freelance work. So, and cut ties with a couple people that I used to work with years ago. So really, those contacts have dried up. I really don't have anybody that I can think of that I can put for references for people that I've worked with recently. And
I
so I
want
don't
to
know
make sure.
who to pick, really. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in it. I'm like, feel like I'm just kind of procrastinating on what, who I should just go ahead and choose somebody to talk to. I don't know.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, Justin. It sounds like a recruiter reached out to you about a job
Mhm.
opportunity, and she is requiring your resume as well as 3 references in
Yeah.
advance of talking to you or submitting you. Is that right?
Well, not a job opportunity, but just at least looking, they require at that agency that you have references. That's part of the requirements for the employers that they work with,
Got it, got it.
their clients. That's a requirement for that, but that's also basically the requirement for the first part of this listening tour is finding someone you've worked with, even if it was a couple projects. And I just honestly can't think of anybody outside my, you know, people that I know well I can talk to about certain, those interviews, but someone I've worked with recently or in the past that
Wait,
relates to this work, that's been very difficult to find anything.
just to clarify, is it because did you say it's because you've been independently freelancing, contracting, and
Yeah.
you're thinking that it has to be a quote like employment colleague? But I think that you
Yeah.
could probably get somebody from, I mean, if that's part of your CV, like that you've been an independent contractor for a recent history, like, I don't see why you can't like have somebody who you've worked with in a different way, like for or
I don't have any contacts with old clients. I mean, it's usually a one and done kind of project and the day job I've had the last 3 years is pretty isolative. I work on my own. It's not
Mhm.
like I can just ring up an old manager because they weren't
Yeah.
ever seeing my work. There's nothing type of work that I have yeah, it's very isolated before. Now being out of work, it's like I just feel disconnected from
Uh,
people's
Yeah,
any advice on what to do about that?
just a few reactions here. So one is, I guess a question that recruiter, are they part of a third party like recruiting agency? I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
A little bit strange for me that they would be asking for references this early in the process. But that said, again, with the whole NSA approach, it still makes sense for you to kind of inventory what references you could possibly use, either as sort of networking channels or, when the employer or recruiter requires references, right? But it's strange to me that they would require references this early in the process.
Yeah, it is a strange thing that not a lot of companies or applications are really asking for references these days. So I can't remember the last time I even edited those documents. Usually would send those out along with the application, but it's been a long time since I've had to do that.
So it's strange that they're doing that. I don't know why they're doing that, but whatever. I mean, maybe that's just their process, or they're just trying to filter in some ways. I don't know. But in terms of being creative around references signal a lot to a recruiter and to a hiring manager, right? In terms of who you're selecting as a reference. And some ways that you can do it is, and I've recommended this to candidates that I've worked with, where the hiring team is ready to make an offer, but it's contingent on references. And typically, what I recommend to hiring managers and employers is what clients, as well candidates, is at least one boss, a peer, and then if your position affords it, any direct reports. So having 2 to 3 references should include a boss or a peer,
Mhm.
and then if possible, a direct report. We've found that to give fairly, relatively valuable signal to the hiring manager. And then obviously it's a bit of a process to, especially if you don't have folks that you've worked with recently. But if you can inventory the work that you've done and who may have been privy to that work, either as a direct report, a peer, or a boss, something adjacent, when you reach out to them, it helps to remind them of, the work that you did that was related to them, and maybe even the work that they did, right? So kind of like when you're asking for a reference or like a testimonial or something like that. Like a lot of times people forget what they did, but you can kind of write the narrative a little bit and kind of help out with that. And I found that when I recommend that to candidates and they do that with their references, the references appreciate it because a lot of times they want to help, but they're not going to go dig through their Google Drive folder and try to figure all this out and what they did.
Right.
If you help them with that, you're kind of greasing the skids to make it easier for them. And those are just my initial reactions. I think Nia, you had your hand up.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that Justin was in that situation a couple of years ago when I was looking, I guess, at a temp agency. They asked the same question about references, and I thought it was strange. I didn't end up working for them because luckily something else came through. But you were talking about references being a powerful signal. Are there people who say, I don't like working with that person? Man, they were horrible. Like, have you had
So,
that situation?
so a lukewarm reference. is a bad reference, right? So that's the thing, right? Like, so if you submit a reference and they talk negatively about you, that is horrible. It shows bad judgment on your part. Number two, it shows it's just bad, right? Really bad. Like a lukewarm reference or a neutral reference is bad. A negative reference is terrible. Like they won't hire you, right? And so what you're looking for is people that will speak, well, obviously truthfully about the work that you've done in detail, right? And then also, and it corroborates your experience, right? Or whatever stories or narrative you were, sharing with the throughout the interview process. And so your selection of somebody that can speak on your behalf in that vein is very important. Yeah.
Is it?
Usually,
Oh,
so I'll
oh,
say one thing. Usually, in my experience, again, this is all anecdotal. In my experience, by the time a client, a hiring manager is asking for references, they're already sold on you, right? So you don't want to give anything that would compromise that. And usually, what the hiring manager is looking for is just anything that might be an off signal, but maybe more so they're looking for how can I tee up Nia for success, right? Because a lot of times they're going to be your manager. What is it that I need to know about Nia from either a boss or a peer or a subordinate, or a direct report? What do I need to know to tee up Nia for success, right? So that's a lot of times what they're looking for, and they're scanning for like anything that's like red flagish too, right? But usually by the time they're asking for references, they're pretty much sold.
follow up on that is that is there a certain time frame, amount of time that matters? Like how far back you can go? Let's say I work with somebody, it was a project, but it was I think 3 or 4
Yeah.
years ago. Does that matter that it was that far back?
Well, I mean, the idea is that they get kind of stale, right? Because,
Mhm.
if you're going back years, the further back you go, the chances of that person being able to speak, and people forget, right? And that's part of the reason why you want to remind them. And if you could do that well, you can jog their memory. And now they can speak about, oh yeah, I did this with Justin. Here's how it affected. Here's the environment. I would work with him again. Here's areas that I think, maybe he could improve, whatever, right? They could speak more intelligently about it as
Mhm.
opposed to in generalities or be very vague about it, right? Because when people start to be vague, it turns out to be more of a neutral kind of endorsement. So that's the risk if it goes back too far.
That was a great question, Justin. I don't know if you have any more to say, Justin, but I
That was
had
pretty much it.
follow-ups. I'm really glad you brought it up because I didn't think to bring it up here, but it is something that I've thought about before because I am asked for in some of the applications. And I have reference. So it's especially challenge, or what I mean, it might become a challenge is when we ask for a supervisor one. And I have like, so the problem is that, which is why, I was talking earlier about culture for me trumps like almost everything else as a woman of color, like, so in my last job, like, they had a history that I didn't know about coming in, even though I tried to ask my red flag questions, where an indigenous woman had to leave over a race thing, a black woman had to leave over a race-related thing. And then, like, I and some other people on my team, after, like, I started and really quickly picked up, like, tried to advocate and tried to do things and tried to whatever. And then, like, some other inequitable things happened involving my direct supervisor, and the previous one who hired me left because she was a poor manager. And then it's like left with in a space of like a little over 2 years. I've had two managers, both are like poor. One was unfairly just became out of nowhere, like, and it's like you can't obviously go into like I don't want to put them down as like as someone because I'm not sure what I don't think they would write anything bad. Like I had good performance, but it's like it left on a especially the last one like a it was a full blown conflict with my whole team and our supervisor who shouldn't have been promoted. Like, I won't go into the details. So then it's like when you're left with an application with like, who's your supervisor? What's their phone number? Which is a separate question from references too, often. I'm like, okay, do I like pretend someone else that who's moved into senior position? Because I do have people in positions but they're not like they weren't my direct supervisor. I did work with them. Is that acceptable to just put somebody else in, like, who can like it's sort of playing a game, but it's like that's the situation. And I saw Nia like nodding a lot. That's unfortunately, and I know somebody who applied for a job at my place was going to be offered it, and her reference, which should presumably everybody knows enough to put a good, what they think, and that person like threw her under the bus. And like she's another person who, like me, was advocating for like all of this kind of stuff. And that rubs people in power, often white leadership, the wrong way. And you don't know what they're gonna do with like what when you ask for a reference. I mean, necessarily because they can just pretend whatever and then change it. I don't know. Like so it's it's a very specific conundrum that I know some other people can relate to, but not everyone.
Yeah. Again, I mean, just to add to that, like the selection of your references, they say a lot, right? Because it's sort of social proof that you can draw on. I mean, your question about, I would be very transparent about who the person is. Like, if they were your boss, I would state that. If they were sort of
Yeah,
a
I wouldn't lie.
right,
Yeah.
like I would state that.
If it's is it acceptable to be like that person? I don't know, like, at some point in the thing to be like, well, if you're asked why aren't you putting your direct well, they didn't like, they're not there anymore, they didn't stay very long, the previous person didn't stay. I mean, I don't know, it doesn't reflect well on the organization, but the truth, that's the truth. Like,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
okay, yeah, anyway, that's all right. It was good to air it anyway because I
Yeah,
think that it is something that does come up.
I have to jump here in a minute. Maybe we could take one more theme or question topic. Sounds
I
like
think
you guys
you're
are
off the hook, Eric.
all right. Awesome, you guys are good. I
Thanks,
do this
guys. I
weekend.
appreciate
Looking
the
forward to
help.
tell a friend.
Yeah,
Thank you guys. Appreciate your
Eric.
engagement. Take care.
oh,
Yeah.
Hello, Eric. Take care.
All right. We'll talk soon, you guys. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Eric.